Hello. Okay, so this is this is a bit of a belated weather report. This is going to be human design related, so if that interests you, that's what this is. I was taking a look at the daily transit, and I noticed that for today until about 4 p.m. tomorrow UK time, gate 60 and 3 were filled in, and then that piques my curiosity because I have gate 60 in my chart, and I thought, oh boy, that's great. Now I have a full channel. Let's see how long this channel is, the time duration, and that the energy is, and what I can expect. I'm familiar with gate 60, but I really haven't taken a look at 3, and I haven't looked at the channel as a whole. So I thought that would be fun, and I figured I'd record it just for people who are also interested in this sort of thing. If you're not, it might not make much sense to you. I'm probably not going to explain certain terms, and then I also, disclaimer, I'm not a teacher. Um, I definitely don't have enough knowledge here to teach this subject. What you're hearing is me in the process of learning it. So, two different things. I'm just doing that out loud for fun because why not? I felt like it. And this is the channel of mutation, so kind of makes sense. Um, doing something I don't usually necessarily do. So I took a look at the transit and went back to see how long this channel has been lit up. And it's been since about the end of, so the end of June or July? No, end of June, I think. And so I thought it was rather funny that I only noticed it today, which is the last day. There's another, let's see, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 hours, 17 hours in this energy, and it's been around for 2 months. But hey, that's why I call it a belated. It's a belated weather report, maybe a reflection. I just think it's hilarious that I have this channel. Well, I don't. I have the Hanging Gate 60, and in my own chart, and I'm only noticing this today. So let's see what we learn. So I'm reading from humdes.info, specifically about this channel, and I may take a look at a few other sources as well. But I'm going to start here. I'm going to have some tea first, actually. I don't plan on pausing, so apologies in advance for the pauses. Use them to sip your own tea, please. Or do whatever you want to do. Okay. So 360 connects the root center and the sacral through gates of acceptance. 60 is a gate of acceptance, and 3 is a gate of ordering. The root center creates pressure to develop and adapt, makes you move forward through overcoming life stress. The sacred center is responsible for perseverance and performance, as well as enhances creative energy. Both these centers are powerful motors. Therefore, channel 360 has a huge reserve of energy to bring evolutionary changes to the environment and cause it. That makes a lot of sense, actually. There would be a lot of energy in those centers. Quite solid energy. Okay. Channel 360 is unpredictable, mutational, and melancholy. Its energy is pulsating. It is manifested by tremors. Therefore, the life of the owners of a certain 360 moves from chaos to order, and again to chaos. Melancholy is replaced by active actions, and melancholy again. So for people who aren't super familiar, some people will have this channel filled in all the time. The reason I'm talking about it now is because globally, based on the positioning of all the planetary bodies and the new, what is it called? Oh gosh, I don't know how to pronounce it. You know, all the light pulsating towards the Earth and the exact configurations that they're in, that the general environment right now has this channel as well. So instead of just the people who have it on their particular energy, it's sort of a, you know, a background energy. So, and for somebody like me with a Haney Gate 60, so I have that constant energy all the time. Now with the environmental energy being a 360, I get to experience the full channel. And that's why it's exciting and interesting to me. And funny that I've just noticed it today. So, although I did notice the chaos and the order and the melancholy, there's definitely been a lot of movement, and ordering and chaosing and ordering. It's been quite interesting. My house has shifted and changed quite a lot in the past couple months, so I can always tell that way. So channel 360 should not logically explain the change in your mood or try to somehow influence it. This can lead to disorders and depression, excessive anxiety, or desire to keep everything under control. Yeah, don't try to make it make sense, right? I mean, you could, but also like not too much. The ability to understand the limitations of one's own vision determines how much a person with channel 360 realizes himself. You need to be patient and alert, accept your own ignorance, and give in to the sacred response. It may be mistakenly assumed that the direction in which humanity is moving is chosen by mind, but the mind could only give out a reaction to what is already happening, creating patterns of behavior and thinking. Everything truly new and mutational arises through response when a person hears the voice of inner authority. Yeah, it makes sense that the mind happens after. Let's see, knowledge circuit, blah, blah, blah. Let me just read through that again. It was really interesting, really good. It may be mistakenly assumed that the direction in which humanity is moving is chosen by the mind. And the reason we're talking about this is because it is the channel of mutation. But the mind can only give out a reaction to what is already happening, creating patterns of behavior and thinking. Everything truly new and mutational arises through response when a person hears the voice of inner authority. The theme, innovative energy that brings new things to this world and changes the usual order of things. You are born to change everything you deal with. It's important for owners of this channel to live correctly because melancholy reaches the verges of depression and can cross this line, and then not the expressed energy of the mutation can transform into a disease. I could see that happening easily. Each owner of the mutation channel has a large margin of safety to withstand emotional overload. This is a superpower to go through complete darkness in order to change the direction of your life at the right moment. The energy of this channel is able to convince others and motivate to follow themselves. It causes similar mutational changes in others and creates a whole wave of transformations. Melancholy. In a period of melancholy that comes without warning, it may seem that nothing is happening at all and will never happen. If you try to explain this logically, then the mind will advise you to move forward and then everything will return to square one. But everything should not return. A new one must come. It is during a lull that a mutation occurs, and with a jolt, it breaks out to bring a new vision and change the life of the owner of the channel and those who are nearby, or people who are experiencing this as a background energy, which is everybody right now, to varying degrees. Different people will respond to the energy differently. Um, you have people who have this channel all the time, you have people who don't have this channel at all, and then you have people like me who have a hanging gate. And so it's sort of like meeting the other side of the channel, which which can go many ways, right? It it's really also anyway, I digress. Owners of the mutation channel may feel the desire to be in solitude. This is normal. You do not need to try to push yourself. It is clear that it's impossible to quit work and leave for the forest, but it is worth accepting your condition and acting at low speeds and doing what you need and not demanding much from yourself. I've definitely noticed the need to slow down. Give yourself the right to live in your own rhythm, and then the rest will have to reckon with this. The best allies for you during the melancholy period are nature and music. Channel 360 has an acoustic aspect and needs sound to match its mood. So if you want to flow with energy instead of fighting it, don't fight it. Never fight it. Music, Conclusion. If you have the mutational channel defined, blah, 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 then accept your nature, show humility and patience, listen to your inner authority. The pulse in which you live is the pulse of the universe that manifests through you. Each design element brings its own strengths and weaknesses to a person's life, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we get it. Okay. So that was interesting. That was humdes.info. Is there anything else about 360 we want to look at? And are there any other defined channels in the transit currently? So that's the only fully defined one. I'm not going to go through the hanging gates right now. I could go through... Are there any other gates that are making a complete channel for in my own personal chart? No, funnily enough, there's a lot of hanging gates currently active in the environment that are also hanging gates that I generally have all the time, like 26, 55. There's a whole... Wait, am I on the right date? Yeah, I'm on the right date. There's a few of them. But I don't see any more. We have 59. I have that one defined as well. Okay, let's take a little bit more of a look at 360. Go to Jovian Archive and see what is there. This is from 2004. Whatever. Ooh, oh gosh. Forgive me my disrespect. It's like a tongue twister. Ra-ooh-hoo. Okay. 60-30. Okay. Okay, so here he's talking about the channel defined as a background frequency as it is today for everyone. And he says one of the things to be clear about, that's Ra-ooh-hoo, is that not all of us relate to the background energy in the same way. If you don't have anything in this channel, it really is a background. So he's saying if you don't even have a hanging gate, if it really is background energy for you, it's not going to be necessarily significant. It's the environment around you. It is a flavor, if you will, that seems to be moving through everything underlying things. But if you're somebody that has a gate in that channel, then not only are you meeting the other end, so in my case the 60 meets the 3, this is an energy that can impact you quite strongly and pull you in a specific direction. Or you kind of think of it like a seesaw that shifts sides. You're used to it one way, and then all of a sudden, just whoop. Now, think about this channel. The 60th gate is the gate of limitation, and the third gate is difficulty at the beginning. They're both individual gates. They both form what is called a format energy. That is, so together, the gate of limitation and the gate of difficulty at the beginning is the channel of mutation. Let's see. 3 format energies, it's a little complicated. Abstract frequency is cyclical. Logical frequency, okay. Abstract frequency is cyclical. It's an energy frequency that works in cycles and beginning, middle, ends. Logical frequency is... Oh, wait a second. No. That's not relevant now. I'm not sure. Okay, scratch that. I'm not entirely sure if I'm what I'm talking about in that over there. Mutation brings confusion. Having channel mutation as background, all kinds of things can happen. What happens with mutation is that mutation brings first and foremost confusion. That is, it brings things that are out of the pattern or out of focus, and they're out of the frequencies of the collective. In other words, they don't fit in. The collective is Solomon's world where nothing is new, and the moment that you have the 60 and the 3, there's going to be many, many things on this planet. After all, it's impacting everyone, in which there's really going to be a mutative event with a byproduct of confusion. Okay, and then he's talking about the confusion he experienced in that particular day when he wrote this article in 2004. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, his computer went haywire. I'm not going to read the whole story. The point is, he says, that when you have a background frequency like this, there are those that are going to be impacted. And knowing that there was a moment that my computer crashed, aside from the binary of one side of me being absolutely annoyed, the other side of me was giggling. Well, yes, because, you know, when you understand the transits at work, you sort of expect it. You go, there it is. There's the 60. There's the 3. You know, you can kind of, all right, you know, sort of to be expected. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, and then he finishes off here with a really interesting point, which I did not think about before, and this is a general point. And that is that tens of thousands of children are born every day. And the children who are born today, and in the last 2 months in particular, right, they're going to carry this frequency with them. They're going to carry this format energy as part of their, stable energy. While everybody's been experiencing it as background, those children are going to have that as part of their energetic makeup. And they're going to carry that frequency with them in the world for, 50, 60, 70, 100, over 100, 113, who knows how many years. And that's the energy of the channel of mutation. So, that's really something. People may be experiencing the planet or whatever may be experiencing this energy now, but once today is gone, it's gone. But at the same time, all of these children, if you see it from this perspective, would be, sort of a signature of this day and the energy that it carries. And so, pretty cool. I mean, think about what all those kids are going to do. And all the melancholy. Oh gosh, I hope they all have some good music. But also Mutation. I mean, how amazing is that? Um, I mean, that's the real takeaway, right? It's good to know about the melancholy because then, you could sort of at least see it from a more distant perspective, even though if you're feeling it, you kind of go, okay, well, that's to be expected. Let me just, flow through it. Um, so he says, in other words, in these 2 days, not only are we dealing with personal cause and effect, personal consequences of our connection to this programming agent, blah, 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 to recognize that this is something that's going to be alive in the world and that a whole mini, mini, mini generation of children, is going to carry this frequency. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Um, I was feeling a little bit of, I don't want to say FOMO, when I saw that it was the last 2 months, and I was like, yes, I've experienced the last 2 months, but I was like only aware of it today, only paying attention today. I actually have been looking at my chart more frequently recently, but I was not looking at the daily transits. So I'm glad I did. That was a really fun takeaway. I if you want to learn more about this channel, please Google other YouTubers because there's quite a few who are really good at explaining these gates and channels. So this video is not meant to be an explanation. This was a learning thing for me. So I'm probably actually going to go and do that right now and look at one or two of my favorites and see what they have to say about it. So hopefully this was enjoyable to someone or interesting. If it was, I'm not sure what you're doing here, but I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care. Okay, I am back. A little bit more reading that I found, and I think I've just clarified a few things for myself. So here are the reflections. I mentioned before the pulse of the channel 360, and I don't think I was really understanding it. It's about the sacral response. So the 360 has a unique on and off pulse of innovative energy, and this inherent inventive creativity is accompanied by periods of feeling uninspired and low energy and melancholic. This is sort of bringing it together for me because I think when I was talking about it a few minutes ago, I was seeing the elements sort of separated. I wasn't really connecting the dots on these. So with the on and off pulse of the sacral, it's you're either feeling it or not, right? And when you're not feeling it, that's when the melancholy comes in. And the key to this really is to, and once the off is there, the creative energy, the creative sacral energy is sort of gone. And the remedy to that is to allow the cycle to process and to respect its own timing, which makes a lot of sense actually now, reflecting on the last 2 months. There has been a lot of on and offs. And sort of really confusing on and offs. Like, okay, why now do I feel tired? Why now do I feel energized? And the key to the 360 is respecting that sacral response. So I'm glad that that I did a little bit more reading and I put those pieces together because, like I said, I was really looking at the 360 in a sort of, I don't want to say disjointed, but I wasn't putting all the pieces together there with the pulse of it, that sacral pulse, because I'm not used to, frankly, I'm not used to thinking about the sacral response much. And let's see. What else does it say here about the 360? The surrounding oneself with things that one finds inspiring and engaging can re-inspire the on periods of innovation. Okay. So that's good, paying attention to things that inspire you, intentionally surrounding yourself with them, but not pressuring yourself into, oh, I must feel creative, I must feel inspired, I must feel happy. Just letting it happen when it does. 360 channel is highly individualistic, has the capacity to bring something completely new and mutative into the world. And what it brings into the world cannot be planned. And that's the key. That's the thing about that. That it can't be, the sacral, it can't be planned. It only comes when the sacral response is leading the way. And that, that's done by paying attention to oneself. And then trusting, trusting the body and that on and off switch. And not trying, not being in the head too much about it, and just trusting that it's there when it's there. And then when it's not, it's time to rest and flow with the mood and the emotions. So, okay, that's a little bit more clarity for me on the 360. Should I take a look at the 3 and 60 separate? Gate 3. Let's take a look at gate 3 because I'm not familiar with that on its own. And that's the gate of ordering, I believe. Oh, the Sacred Fool. Difficulty at beginning. It's so funny, the different names of the same gate. I find the gate 3 is listed as the gate of ordering, the gate of difficulty at the beginning, and the Sacred Fool. That's what I see. So. Let's see what all of this has to say. The official name is the Gate of Ordering, but the author of this article, who for some reason I can't find it. Oh, Christy Ing. Christy Ing? I apologize, Christy. I don't know how to pronounce your last name, but it is quite lovely. Okay, so she says, the official name for the Human Design Gate 3 is the Gate of Ordering, but I call it the Sacred Fool because its primary action is to, quote, have fun while transforming the chaos of a new beginning into order. Okay. So the archetypal name is the Sacred Fool. In action, playfully create order out of chaos. I hope playfully because chaos sounds overwhelming a little bit, but I suppose the whole idea of the 360 is to not really put pressure and just flow with the on and off. Keywords: takes leaps of faith, play, transformation. Official gate name is ordering, which makes sense because you're making order out of the chaos. Human design definition. And I think definitely people can see the chaos in the world right now. So it's there, it exists. So does ordering. Okay, let's see what else. On the positive end of the spectrum, Human Design Gate 3 is the energy for bringing order to the chaos. Gate 3 knows that the beginning of change is the hardest part and loves to create innovative ways to overcome obstacles and face them with a lighthearted touch. See, it would have made sense to go through the gates first, gate 3 and gate 60, and then go through channel 360. So I sort of did this backwards. Apologies for that, but here we are. It's the gate of mutation. Right? Playfully. Blah, blah, blah. Where was I? On the other end of the spectrum. Oh, yes. Gate 3 knows the beginning of change is the hardest part. The beginning of change is the hardest part and loves to create innovative ways to overcome obstacles and face them with a lighthearted touch. On the other side, on the other end of the spectrum, Human Design Gate 3 is the energy for feeling disempowered, disordered, out of control, and it can experience a lot of frustration with God about living in a chaotic world. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that in general, and that has been part of the background energy for the last 2 months. Just to give credit here, I'm reading from christying.com. So thank you, Christy. If you don't like the results that the quote negative side of the spectrum is creating in your life, you can raise the frequency of gate 3 with a number of boundaries, practice, tools, blah, 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 blah. Okay, she goes into a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. In the I Ching, gate 3 is known as difficulty at the beginning. For those who are unfamiliar, the gates are based on the I Ching. That's, what we're talking about when we talk about the energy. And it comes with a lot of chaos that is very hard to navigate. Difficulty at the beginning, this gate. Yeah. I mean, anything new is, sort of has these, you don't know what to expect. You haven't seen it before. You haven't done it before. Anything can happen. Difficulty at the beginning. By definition, there generally will be difficulty at the beginning. So that's gate 3. Okay. Anything else? Okay, she's talking about things being messy at first, but that doesn't mean it's not worth it. I mean, you gotta be at the first. You gotta be at the beginning for anything new. So, the messy is part of the new. That's basically it. The messy is part of the new. I mean, you can't. That's just the way it is. Making art is messy, giving birth is messy, change is messy. It can be difficult in the beginning. But you could also not do anything new in your life. But if you want to do something new, chances are, yes, it's going to be messy in the beginning. But like the gate itself is called, messy in the beginning does not mean it's going to be messy all the way through. It just means it's new and you're figuring it out. And that the future is unknown. And that's okay because it's new. It's new. And new is good. New is good sometimes. Sometimes, you want to keep some heritage, you want to keep some tradition, you want to keep some of the old, but part of life is the turnover and the new and the fresh. And that's really great. That's really wonderful. When we approach the mess with our eyes and heart wide open, it turns to golden then. Lovely. Okay. Yeah. What is your relationship with chaos? She has, some contemplative questions. Do you see chaos as a bad thing? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that's gate 3. Oh my goodness. All of these pop-ups. I remember a time where pop-ups were they were like a faux pas. It was like, faux pas, is that the right word? It wasn't cool. It wasn't cool for websites to have. Am I imagining this? That there was a point that it wasn't cool for websites to have pop-ups and they were sort of going away because it wasn't nice to the consumer. But then one day, at some point, it was just whoosh, and then pop-ups became everywhere and you just couldn't really do much about it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just, get off my lawn. That's what I'm doing. Get off my computer screen. That's what I'm doing right now. Okay. So gate 3, that was fun. Let's see what we've got for gate 60. Gate 60 on its own. Okay. And Christy Ing has got some really good SEO because she's the first Google result again. So kudos to you, Christy. Good job. SEO is not easy. And also she's got a great, very informative website. Her last name is I-N-G-E. I assume that's Ing, but I don't know. I do know people who have their last name N-G, just N-G, and that's Ing, pronounced Ing, so I don't know if it's the same. Okay, that is not what we're discussing today, but Well, it was there for a moment. So gate 60 on its own, gene key 60, the embodied magician. It's called the gate of acceptance, but she uses the archetypal name, the embodied magician. And she says because its primary action is to magically flow through the river of life. Huh. Okay. So 3 was order out of chaos, sacred fool, and 60, gate of acceptance, flowing through life, the embodied magician. Yeah, I can see why these two together make the mutation. So, and keywords are magic, limitation, embodiment, laws of nature, human design definition. The acceptance of limitation is the first step in transcendence. The acceptance of limitation is the first step in transcendence. Okay. The core theme, pressure to transcend limitation. In this context, pressure is not necessarily a problem. It's really about acting from the amount of pressure that is correct for you. In this context, pressure is not necessarily a problem. It's really about acting from the amount of pressure that is correct for you. Okay. And the 60 is connected to the root center, right? So the 3 was connected to the sacral. And now it connects to the root center with 60. Embodied magician. On the positive end of the spectrum, I feel like I'm running out of breath, so I'm going to go through this. Excuse me. I'm just going to skim through. Let's see. Gate 60 is energy flowing through life by using creativity to overcome limitations. 60 breaks the rules and loves to create equitable systems and structures. It thrives when it has the proper boundaries in place for magic, creativity, and transformation to flourish. That's on the positive end of 60. On the negative end of the spectrum, we say negative in quotes, design gate 60 is the energy for becoming victimized by laws, rules, boundaries, and natural limits. It's the tendency to act out when boundaries aren't clear and stay in their comfort zone instead of using their creativity to overcome challenges. If you don't like the results of the negative side of the spectrum is creating your life, you can raise the frequency of gate 60 with number of boundaries. But okay, yeah, she says that in every article. The most important, discover the containers that your creativity and magic thrive inside of. For example, have certain hours they create inside of, or a certain environment. Play with these containers and see what you like best. Okay. Very interesting. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is not speaking to me so much, this particular writing. Nothing personal, but let's see what humdes has to say. People with gate 60 of acceptance have the potential to transform the way things are. They bring innovation and knowledge to the world that mutate the community. Wisdom is revealed to people with gate 60 when they accept their disabilities and work with what is. The accepted restrictions as a result lead to the irreversible transformations and mutate society. The accepted restrictions. So not denying the restrictions, not sinking into depression based on the restrictions. I'm not judging, I'm not saying it's bad. I've certainly experienced depressions. But the key to 60 is the point of transformation with 60 is the acceptance of the restriction, which as a result leads to irreversible transformations and mutations in society. So that's very interesting. They can bring something completely, energy brings something completely new into the world that did not exist before. Okay, it requires a strong and sustained impulse, which is created by the 60th gate. The energy of a 60 can be compared to the jerks of a car pulling away. The value of what these people are working on is not always clear to others. And that makes sense because if it is mutative, there are going to be things that are new that have not been seen before, which means they won't really make sense because people aren't seeing the whole picture because the whole picture is new. So that's fair. People with gate 60 give impetus. I was going to pronounce it impetuous. That's not the right word. Impetus to the new. And anybody who's been sort of tapping into the 360 channel in the last 2 months also may have been creating something new, not even realizing it, and it not necessarily making sense to them or other people. So that's interesting. The Gate of Chaos expresses knowledge that can be vital to the whole. It really confuses me that there's like 3 different names for each gate. It's like, I find it really confusing. Maybe as time goes on, it'll be less confusing to me. But at the moment, it really is. So the Gate of Chaos expresses knowledge that can be vital to the whole. Yes, the nature of the mutation means that it implicates that there is some benefit to the whole, because why else would the mutation be there? I mean, yes, it's coming through one person or through a group of persons, but that implicates that other people would benefit from it as well. It's a big world after all. Such people from birth carry the frequency of mutation and change. The energy of the gate 60 manifests itself in the pulse mode. It turns on and off from time to time. And the mutation in them matures through the work they're working on. They want change, but change doesn't come just by thinking about it. They ripen like the fruit of a baby. And the very moment of birth of something new for them is unpredictable. It remains only to accept these restrictions, that each mutation has its own time. Yeah. I mean, I find that actually very relatable. I'll sometimes get ideas really absolutely in the middle of nowhere where the pieces come together and it's like, boom, it's right there. So it is unpredictable and it's fascinating. They do not know when this moment will come, what exactly it will bring. When waiting for the mutation, they feel deeply melancholy. The stress of life can bring them to a sense of chaos and loss. Yes, because there is this sense of sort of working on something, but you don't totally know what it is. Or, having experiences, having thoughts, having creative processes, but not knowing what exactly it is that you're creating, what the final result will be. And, I'll often pull from different areas of life as well. I'm interested in this, I'm interested in that, I'm creating this, I'm doing that, I'm talking to this person. To me, they don't seem related, but then then there'll be a moment where it sort of all clicks together, and then the new thing comes about. You go, oh, if I take that and the thing that I had this conversation with, and then that piece of art that I made, and then that book that I read last year, and that piece of music, and this concept, and now you end up with, and then it clicks together, and you've got something. You've got something new, you know, a new concept, a new revelation, a new product, a new business, a new piece of writing, a new piece of something new, right? And I always, especially when I was doing nail art, I found it really fascinating where the inspiration would come from because it was always the most random things. You know, I'd create a new pattern from a piece of metal that I saw, or, you know, just really, I couldn't necessarily go out and seek the inspiration because I wouldn't know where to look. You know, it wasn't like I'd go to Pinterest or, you know, and look for inspiration. It's a little bit pre-Pinterest anyway, but my point is that the inspiration would just come from the world. You know, it'd come from a conversation, it'd come from something, anything that I'd seen. You know, I might look at a tomato and then come up with a design in my head and paint that design, you know, based on the color of the tomato. So again, you're and sort of trusting that process of experiencing and living through life, not really knowing what the puzzle pieces are, where they're coming from, even as you're experiencing them until it all sort of comes together. And that's why the, you know, pressure to create for me has always been very challenging. Anytime I took an art class, it was very confusing and strange to me that I'd have set time to do a set design and a set thing. It's like, oh, this isn't really how I work. And again, but for other people, creating that container does work. So it is really good to know what kind of container works for you. Mine is far more abstract. Okay, now, Gate 60, we're talking a little bit more about the melancholy. The irony is, okay, what do they say here about melancholy? So while I'm waiting for the mutation, there could be a deep feeling of melancholy. Yes. I mean, I've spent years on things that I didn't understand why or what I was spending. You know, I knew that the inspiration was there and that there was joy coming from it, from my, you know, internally, but I didn't understand where it was going, what I was creating. And there can be melancholy in it, especially in a world where, you know, in cultures or environments that value productivity or producing results, you know, on a schedule, let's say, because this it can feel like a disappointment, or you can feel like you failed, where in fact, you know, the quote unquote success of the mutation is like just around the corner, but a year from now, you know, and you don't know that. So they really, with this gate, with the 60 and with the channel 360, I think they're probably an element of trust is very helpful. Probably. It makes sense. Yep. So when waiting for the mutation, I'm reading again from Humdes. They feel deep melancholy. The distrust of life can bring them to a sense of chaos and loss. Yep. The irony is that in melancholy, in letting go of any expectation, the irony is that in melancholy, in letting go of any expectation, that mutation occurs. Mutation is like a butterfly trapped in the pupa. It happens exactly when the world is ready for it. Without gate 3, so this is talking about me now, actually. Without gate 3, people in their 60s, I'm talking about gate 60, not 60 years of age, may feel like life is holding them back. Surrendering to lack of choice, they accept melancholy as a blessing and give birth to a new structure out of chaos. As a result of such a mutation, something can be born for which there is not even a name yet. Yeah, that makes sense. People with gate 60 have the potential to bring innovation. Ooh, is that a bug? Is that a bug? No. I scared myself. People with gate 60 have the potential to bring innovation to the world in which the field in which they work. Something completely new that there is no name of yet. The energy of the 60 works in the pulse, turns on and off. Such people mutate our world. The challenge for gate 60 is to accept its own limitations, not knowing when the next evolutionary shift will occur. The challenges for 60's gate is to wait for this moment, not knowing when it will come and what it will bring. Melancholy is a common condition for such people. People with gate 60 decide for themselves how to treat them. This is, I'm in my mid-30s now. This is much, I don't want to say much easier, but this has become easier for me than it was in my 20s, where I definitely felt the pressure to produce or to know the end goal, throughout the process, rather than sort of trusting the process. It is really sort of difficult, creating, not knowing what you're creating, you know? Like when I write a paper, for example, I will, you create a thesis, you create, I outline the whole thing. I do beginning, middle, end, and then I fill in the paragraphs. So I outline it, and there's something so sort of comforting about knowing sort of what the end product you want it to be. And with Gate 60, it's sort of exactly the opposite of that. You're riffing. You're just riffing. So, and trusting the process. And of course, melancholy is going to come along. I mean, it's part of the gate, but especially living in the world, living in a society, I mean, I grew up in the States, so especially in the States, which is like so productivity oriented, results oriented. It'd be really interesting to like compare with somebody who grew up like in Italy, let's say, like a more laid back culture, with different values than the States, and I wonder what their experience with this gate would have been. So that's interesting to think about. Let's see. Is there anything else we want to talk about here? I don't think so. It's been 30 minutes already on this second recording, and I wasn't even planning on doing this one. Well, nor was I planning the first one, so we're all in theme, but I think 30 minutes is more than enough because that's going to make this whole thing close to an hour, I think. So if you've stayed and you were interested, and thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of this energy as part of the background for the next 14, 15, 16 hours or so. That means there's a little bit of a shift of energy around 4 p.m. tomorrow UK time, and I haven't taken a look at that, but I'm not going to do that now, otherwise I will talk for another hour, and I am all tired out. So that's it for now. Take care. Have a good day.